Hey everybody, I know you guys might have been waiting on this video for the longest while, but we're about to get to it. How is everybody doing today? How is everybody doing? I hope you all are doing well. Trying to take care of my stomach. Not going out to work today. I wanted to. Oh my goodness. Yawning on camera. But couldn't go to work today. Just couldn't. I had to rest up a little bit. So here I am. I'm in my room by my bed. It's the end of the day. I was on Twitter for quite a lot today. And let's get to what we're going to talk about. So as you can see here, it's hashtag release the Snyder Cut movement. We're talking about Batman v Superman and some details in Batman v Superman. I'm going to talk about this. Now, it really, the person who eyed this came from Twitter. All right. So I can't get credit for it. But what I can tell you is that, oh man, I want to yawn again. Oh my gosh, I'm really tired. I am tired. Yeah, but I sort of went into more detail on it. And so we're going to explore that in a couple minutes. You guys are going to have to excuse me because I am somewhat sleepy still. Let me read the scripture for today. What I'm going to read from is Isaiah 59, Isaiah 60, one verse apiece. It says, "Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither is his ear heavy that it cannot hear." And it goes on in verse and in chapter 60 to say, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you." That's all I'm going to say. A lot of people believe God is a separate entity to each and every one of us, that God is somehow outside of us, that we serve a God that is removed from us, external to us. This is not the truth. The truth is God operates through and in every single entity and thing. We never act exclusive to God. We are sustained by God. To use the word good pretty much summarizes everything. So, this scripture is talking first about the fact that obviously good experiences everything, therefore it sees and hears everything. So it's not that God doesn't see or his arm is short, because everything is, its foundation is based on good. So basically, the second chapter is saying, so do good. As you grow more and more in doing good, you're going to become more and more influential in doing good. So when you abide in good, and you make that something you want to do all the time, the more it becomes, it takes over your life and actually makes you have even a bigger impact on those around you. Shout out to my boy T and J Ayala. Shout out to my boy Dave Ethan. Shout out to my boy I forgot his name now. Slipped my mind. Shout out to all of you. You can chat in the chat section. Chat section is over there. The chat section is over there. So you can chat up a storm in the chat section. Greetings to one and all. Let's get into the video at hand today. I am sleepy. That's why I'm holding my head. Oh my goodness. I really am sleepy right now. I'm going to try and make it through this video. All right, one and all, here we go. Some of these videos, man, I just be flying through like a soldier. So in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, this cartoon was seen on the surface of the Gotham City jail. when Clark Kent went into the entrance of the jail to inquire about the murdered prisoner who was in the Metropolis jail, but his belongings and possessions would be collected in the Gotham City prison. And when he looked it down, he saw this picture. Now, like I said before, the person who brought this to my attention was on Twitter. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't remember his name. I remember Fire, which is F-I-E-R. I forgot what the first two what the first two names were. Which is a pity. Anyways, I want to get into what this is about because there's a lot of information on this thing. Let me zoom it up a little bit more. There you go. So if you look carefully, you will see below here, batter up, right? It's interesting because here is a burglar or criminal. You can see here, nice purse. So you can see he had a purse. It seems like he stole a purse of some kind. And you can see pearls, a pearl necklace falling out of the purse. You know, that kind of hails back to Martha Wayne and her pearls falling off her neck. There's a knife in the other hand. And you see the policeman here. And it looks like he has a bat in his hand, but it's not a bat, right? You can see here, this is the projector for the bat signal. And that, in fact, the police officers kind of probably kicked out the knife from the guy's hand. But it looks as if he's about to swing a bat, a baseball bat to be precise. Now, what's interesting about this is the amount of play on words on this picture in and of itself. And as you get into the etymology of the picture, that is its beginnings, the well goes deeper. So let's just get into it, all right? So the first thing we notice here is that this here is a projection of the bat signal, saying that Batman is being called by the Gotham City police. But you also see in here Gothamville Slugger. And it's almost as if this policeman is about to swing this this club almost. It looks like a club. Swing it at this guy's head, right? As if he's a baseball. And you can see the robbers in great panic. And the reason is because, as you can see, Batman is being used as a tool by Gotham City Police Department. He's their big stick. We'll come back to big stick later. As you know, police carry clubs. A policeman will carry a stick or a club. And sometimes it's called a nightstick, sometimes it's called a big stick. But the important thing is that here we can see that the policeman, you can think of it as a baseball bat, you can think of it as a club or a big stick or a nightstick. But at the end of the day, policemen up to the 1970s used to use their stick, their nightstick, if they had to attack someone, to bang them over the head, criminals. And so it looks as if the policeman here is about to really batter up and swing that stick or that club at the robber's head and basically bust his head open and knock him out, right? That's what it looks like. Now, here's the cool thing about it. One, if this is considered a baseball bat, that's a play on words because this is also a bat. So you got the bat there and the cop is carrying a bat. So this is his bat. So that you know, it's a play on words there. And the other interesting thing about it is that it's also a tool, a weapon that the police are using. Now, in addition to it being a bat and the play on words, we have batter up here. And batter up literally means bring the batter up to the plate, right? And he's going to hit the ball, which would be the robber's head. It can also be looked at as bat her up, her being Gotham. So, it gets fun. It gets to be fun as we look at the play on words here. But as for the meaning, like like I told you before, the police department, and unfortunately I couldn't get the derivative of this picture. The police carries a baton, also known as a bat, so known as a club. And if you look here, this actually looks like a baton. If you look at it from a certain perspective, at the end of the baton is close to the criminal, and then the end that the policeman is holding is further away, so that could look like this. And a baton is a smaller bat, right? Now there's a lot going on with that. Batons for policemen back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Policemen looked like that, and it's interesting because the policemen had this baton. Now the nightstick would be a little bit bigger with an extension on it, but it's interesting. It's just like a small baseball bat. Again, they hit the robbers over the head with it. And what's interesting about that is that police would crack down on crime. Cracking down on crime denotes the sound that a baton would hit an object with. And to be honest with you, batons or clubs really started off with mobsters. It was really mobsters, not police. Before police were there, mobsters used to keep justice and law using clubs. So it was true force and violence. And it's interesting that they sort of legitimized that with the police service. Now, here's the other interesting thing about that, all right? Theodore Roosevelt was known for carrying the big stick. And again, the parallels between baseball and law enforcement, which is policing. And we have policing in America where, brute force is sometimes used in place of diplomacy. And very much so, Roosevelt also implemented that policy when he was dealing with trade with the Central and South American countries, which owed America money, as well as the European countries that owed money. It was looked at as a new type of diplomacy where America would hold these nations accountable using a big stick, sort of like, they would go down with their military, etc., and ensure that they get their money back. So it was kind of like a sort of Gestapo mob-like movement, where they came to collect their money. So Theodore Roosevelt was responsible for what we know as the big stick diplomacy, where you talk soft, but you really come with force. So this big stick is what the Gotham City Police Department was using here. It's a sort of big stick movement where there's force through Batman, while the department could, stay behind that force and still speak softly but act violently through Batman, because he didn't have to worry about the law and how to treat criminals. They could sick Batman on different people. Now, also interesting is the little annotations on this picture. So if you look right here, you'll see here, bail bonds, and there's a phone number, and then the name Steve is below there. And this is very interesting because Bansky, who is another artist who was portrayed in Batman v Superman, we saw some of his work. Bansky actually equated a Steve to being a burglar. And that would be Steve Jobs. It's very interesting that this looks almost identical, right? And why that is so is because we could say, because Steve Jobs kind of exploited labor and exploited work in different ways. So you can say he kind of went in and stole from the bank or stole, cashed out. And here it's interesting that Steve is the one feasting off of creating a bail bond for criminals, which would have to pay him back. So it would be interesting if this was Steve Jobs, Zack Snyder was alluding to, or the creator of this cartoon, which is Ming Wong. Ming Wong was a Singapore artist who was also involved in filmography and crossing the lines between gender and all these kinds of things. You can check him out. He's stationed in Germany, but he really is a Singapore artist, director, producer, etc. He's a polymath when it comes to the arts. And so it was very interesting that he actually probably drew this picture. And what is interesting about that, again, because there's just so much depth to it, I just talked a little bit about the big stick policy and the etymology of this photo, which kind of comes from the 1940s, 1930s. What's interesting about it, in addition to that, is the fear that's in the heart of the criminal here when the police pull their big stick out, so that the criminal actually drops everything. So there's no violence, actually. It ends up being non-violent because the criminal basically buckles under the pressure of having Batman come after them. Which is the whole point behind it. I couldn't really identify everything here, but I identified the word big right in the corner there. My word is big. You guys can check that out if you so wish. Now, that's just the level of detail that Zack Snyder pays in the most trivial of things that you may see for a couple seconds. And that's what makes Zack Snyder's films and the release the Snyder Cut movement very important. Not only because it's important for Zack Snyder, who is a very creative person that actually has a background in history and art, but also it is also something that sets the tone and trend which Warner Bros. Has to correct for their future movies. You know, after Zack Snyder did Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, we had David Ayer. And unfortunately for David Ayer, like Zack Snyder in Batman v Superman, Warner Bros. Had some involvement in the creative process of David Ayer's film, started taking over the directorial role that David Ayer had, and literally making the guy cut out a bunch of his movie. We can't have that continuing. That is why Release the Snyder Cut movement is important. It's not just about the Snyder Cut, it's about the future of the DCEU. Patty Jenkins, she also had to, argue her point for relevance of certain scenes in her movie, even though some people say it was her creative team, and she even said that. James Wan is the next director in line. We do not want Warner Brothers tampering with this guy's movie. I want to make it abundantly clear once again. The trailer that I saw was sort of heavily Marvelized. And I hope they change up their approach for the next trailer, and I hope they have let James Wan do the movie he wants to do. I'm not saying that James Wan won't have a lighter movie, etc. I just have a feeling that his movie has been compromised some. And I think it's in the post-production work more than the actual production work, the actual shooting. So I'm hoping Warner Bros. Will let this guy, even though he hasn't done a comic book movie before in his life, I hope that they will just trust the guy to do what he needs to do. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about here today. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys get to see Mission Impossible this weekend. I can't go see it this weekend because I still I'm kind of busy working. But yeah, that's basically it. I have to say on Batman v Superman. Details that make a big difference. All right. Shout out to all you guys. Have a blessed one. You guys have a great day.